بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue. We started a very important discussion about Taqlid, and that was about whether we need to refer to the most knowledgeable or just the one who is qualified. So he's mujtahid but not the most knowledgeable. We said there are people who say you must always refer to the people who are most knowledgeable. There are people who say you don't need to refer to the most knowledgeable. And there are people who make distinction. Yeah, tafsil. They make distinction. They say if you know that there is a difference in their level of knowledge. So suppose we have 3-4 mujtahid, and we know that there is one who is a'la. Maybe you know this because it's very unlikely that they are all exactly the same. Yeah? Or maybe for other reasons. For example, people say that there is a'la. So if you know there is a'la, and you know that their fatawa are not the same, which is normally the case, yeah? It's very hard to find two mujtahid that all fatawas for them are the same. They say, if you know there is a'la, and you know that their fatawas are different, you must follow a'la. But if you don't know any of these two, you don't need to investigate and you don't need to find out who is a'la to follow. So there are three major views. The author had the idea that there is no need to refer to a'la. Okay? So he first mentioned that uqala, when they refer to the experts, to ahlul khibrah, they don't try to find out who is the best ahlul khibrah. Yeah? We said if you want to build a house, you try to find a good architect, a good engineer. Yeah? But you don't go to the best. Or if you want doctor, you go to someone who is qualified, but you don't go to the most knowledgeable doctor. And because he says the main reason for taqlid is bina'ul uqala, siratul uqala, and uqala, as we said, they don't require to refer to the best expert, to the most knowledgeable. So in taqlid is the same. This was the first point, and we discussed this last session. And then there was an objection that what about imamah? Do you agree that in imamah also we can refer to the person who is not the best? Or in imamah you should say you should go to the best, not just someone who is, for example, qualified or second best or third best. The answer was there is a big difference between imamah and taqlid. Imam is the one who has comprehensive leadership in all worldly and religious affairs. رئاسة عامة في أمور الدين والدنيا. Imam has comprehensive leadership in every aspect of our life, whether it be religious or secular. This is not our definition only. All Muslims say, Sunni, Shia, all say Imam is the one who has comprehensive ra'asa in both aspects.
What's the difference with what we are using with Imam Khomeini's Wilayat al-Faqih? What's the difference between that?
No, that's different.
What's the difference?
We are now talking about Imam who is infallible,
Yeah.
the 12 Imams. Okay? But inshallah, I will have a discussion later about governance. So, Imam has comprehensive leadership in all aspects. Assalamu alaikum. And people are also supposed to refer to him in every aspect and obey him. He is also the role model. He is also the example. How can we have among people someone who is better? For example, someone is more knowledgeable, or someone who has more wisdom, or someone who has more piety or more spirituality, and then we don't give him the position and bring someone who is less qualified and say to the one who is better that you have to follow the one who is not qualified as you. In Ijtihad, this point is not in the book, but you can add this point. In Ijtihad, we don't say another mujtahid should refer to غير أعلم. Any mujtahid must rely on his own fatwa. But in Imamah, all should refer to Imams. So if Imam is not the most qualified, that's a problem. You understand? In Taqlid, if we say you can refer to the one who is second most knowledgeable, third most knowledgeable. Okay, this is for people who are doing Taqlid. But we don't say A'lam has to refer to him, or even those who are equal have to even if someone is less but is mujtahid. Yeah? Any mujtahid, even if he is lower than this one, can rely on his own fatwa. But in Imamah, we cannot. Okay? This is a very important point. This is not in the book. Yes?
I think you said that even all the Muslims, they believe on this point that Imam should be the best person.
Yeah.
But as we say,
No. Who said? I didn't say all Muslims say Imam has to be the best. I said all Muslims say that definition of Imam is the one who has comprehensive leadership in worldly and religious affairs. Mm-hmm. We say it has to be the best.
Okay.
They say no problem. We mentioned the story of Taqdeemul Mafdul ala al-Fadil. We say this is not acceptable.
Oh.
Then the question was, you who say in Imamah it's not possible to bring the second before the first, why in Taqlid you say it's possible? Okay? Of course, I am explaining the position of the author. It's not that I am saying myself that there is no need to be a'lam. I am just explaining. But this point that I said, this is what I believe, that there's a big difference. So I want to be fair, on behalf of the author, that there is a big difference. He's right. You cannot, challenge someone who says marja doesn't need to be a'lam by bringing the question of imam. Because imam is totally different from taqlid. Okay? Yes.
And I believe Imam is appointed by God. How can a human being choose him?
Yes.
So how does it pertain to this?
That's then another issue. So we say Imam is appointed by God, then non-Shia say Imam is chosen by people or previous Caliph. But then the next issue is either is appointed by Imam or by people, selected by people. Does he need to be the best? In both scenarios, there's a question, does he need to be the best or not? Okay. Inshallah, we will come back to this issue. Right now, he is mentioning the arguments for acceptability of following the one who is not the most knowledgeable. Later, when he finishes this, he mentions arguments of the other group. Those who say it must be definitely a'la. So, the second argument. Second argument for what?
Imam being a'la.
Marja doesn't need to be a'la. Yeah, second argument that the author brings for not requiring a'lamiyah.
It's not necessary to keep the a'la.
This is more kind of practical point. He says, if you have noticed, ulama have different opinions about what is meant by a'lamiyah. You know? Maybe for people who hear this, it's simple. You say, a'lam. But when scholars deal with this, there are lots of questions. What do you mean by a'lamiyah? Certainly, it doesn't mean the one who has studied more, because knowledge is not measured by the years of study. Yeah, although it can be an indication if someone has studied very little. Yeah, so if someone has studied anything less than 10, 15 years, so nowadays we know that he cannot be in that category. But you cannot say someone who has studied 40 years is more knowledgeable than someone who has studied, 30 years. It's not a matter of years. Yeah? Or it's not a matter of, say, who has more students necessarily, or who has more books and publications. So these are not indicators of a'lamiyah. Plus, the one who has more fiqh issues in his mind and memory. It's not a matter of memory. Maybe there is someone who is a'lam, but whenever you ask him for a fatwa, he has to check. Yeah? I remember my first teacher when I was still in Tehran. After high school, I was going to take lessons. And he used to say that when he was young, he used to go for tabligh to some places near city of Iraq, because he himself was from there. And he said there was a mujtahid living there. And people used to sometimes ask me questions, and sometimes used to ask him questions. He said, I had all these masails in my mind, based on Risala. But he was mujtahid. People sometimes were telling me, you know better than him. Because when we ask him, he says, I have to check. Maybe this is the case. So he said, this is mistake of people. They think whoever gives the answer right away, he knows better. First of all, it's a matter of memory. Plus, when he wants to answer, he has to have hujjah between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you say, this is the fatwa of so and so, it's just a matter of remembering this, understanding and remembering. Therefore, he said this, that mujtahid is man idha raja'ah alim. Mujtahid is the one that then he refers and returns to the sources he knows. Doesn't need to know all the time. Yeah? So, a'lamiyya is not a matter of memory. It's not a matter of, saying this person quickly answers everything. What is a'lamiyya? There is a kind of disagreement here. So he says, إن معنى الأعلم هو شيء مبهم. He says, the definition of أعلم is unclear. لم يتزه عند العلماء وأهل الخبرة أنفسهم. Even scholars and experts themselves don't find it very easy. What is the meaning of أعلمية? They have differences of opinions. فضلا عن عوام الناس, let alone lay people. ولا سيما البدو والعجائز وبنات 9 سنين وأبناء 15 سنة. What about people who are Bedouins or old, very old people, like old ladies, ajaiz, very old lady. You remember the hadith we had in Aqaid, alaykum badin al-ajaiz, about that lady who had argument for existence of God. Or a girl who after 9 years becomes baligh and has to do taqlid. He says, how can a girl who is 9 years or a boy who is 15 years understand who is Allah? So he's bringing a practical point. He wants to say, how can we say Islam requires people to follow A'lam when even understanding what is A'lamiyah is difficult, especially for lay people and more especially for a young boy and girl or a very old lady or very, I don't know, remote, for example, I don't know, tribe or people who live in deserts and they are Bedouins. فإذا كان العلماء وأهل الخبرة أنفسهم إلى الآن لم يتفقوا على المعنى المراد من الأعلى. If scholars and experts till now they have not agreed on what is meant by أعلمية and what is the criterion, manat, means on what basis أعلمية is measured. Is it al-ajwadu malakatan? Ijtihad is a malaka, yeah? Malakatul ijtihad means an ability which someone has developed and is established. Like in akhlaq, we have, for example, we say malakatul jud, malakatul shaja'a, yeah? When a quality is established, then that is malaka. Otherwise it's hal, it's transient. So if someone has studied fiqh and practiced for years, then he would develop a kind of quality which is permanent. When I say permanent, I don't mean eternal. I mean it's not in need of every day, remembering or preserving it. When it is established, it remains. Unless someone becomes ill or for many, many years, if someone doesn't practice, he may lose this malaka. But relatively, it's permanent. So some people have said, mujtahid, if has better malakatul istinbat or ijtihad, means his ability is stronger, he is a'la. So for them, it's a matter of being more able to analyze and process and come with fatwa. Some people have said, no, a'lam is the one who is better in fahm, in understanding. Okay? Maybe someone is able and is very practiced and used to istinbat, but is not that deep in understanding. you know, especially when very subtle issues emerge. Is it clear? You know, for example, maybe you have a doctor who is very good in diagnosing the illness. He has great practice, but if something becomes a little bit complicated, he may not be able to understand. We have another person who is more understanding, but maybe less practiced and less established. It's possible. Yeah? Yes.
Just I ask you about prophets. Then Yaqub alayhi salam,
Yes.
he was a'lam than Yusuf alayhi salam, because he was Hujjatullah fil ard. Then after that, Yusuf had been Hujjatullah and Yaqub do sujood to him.
No, this is not for prophets.
لا أنا بالعربي لو أسألك مولانا، يعني هذا العلمية علمية يعقوب رغم أنه أعلم من ابنه يوسف عليه السلام وكلاهما نبي،
Yeah.
لكن الله سبحانه وتعالى جعل يعقوب يتبع يوسف ويلحق به إلى مصر. وهل هذا الأمر يعني أن ليس شرطا أنه الأعلم يكون متبع؟ ليس، لكن الله سبحانه وتعالى أحيانا يشاء أن يرفع مرجع من المراجع والبقية يرجعون إليه. هل هذا مثل لاتباع الأعلم أو غير الأعلم؟
Good question. The answer is the issue of a'lamiyya comes for conventional knowledge, like mujtahidin. It's a matter of learning and understanding. For the prophets and infallible Imams, we don't mention the question of a'lamiyya, because all the prophets and all the Imams receive their knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. So the issue of a'lamiyya doesn't come. So we don't say, for example, Ya'qub is more knowledgeable than Yusuf, or Yusuf is more knowledgeable, because both of them have ilmul ghaib and they receive revelation and they are directly inspired by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is about ordinary people whose knowledge comes in attending a school, reading books, thinking, analyzing. Ilm al-husuli, but even ilm al-ghaib can be husuli, because ilm al-ghaib can be also through concepts. This is ilm al-muta'araf, conventional knowledge, not ilm al-ladunni. We are not talking about ilm al-ladunni, something that Allah gives directly. Okay, so is it a matter of being better in your capability of ijtihad? Is a matter of being more understanding? Is a matter of someone has done more ijtihad? For example, suppose we have two people. One of them has studied all sections of fiqh, and for all masail he has already made his ijtihad. He has fatwa from tahara to diyat. Another person is maybe only starting this process, or maybe he has done ijtihad for major issues, okay, or major sections like tahara and salat and zakat and khums. Can we say the one who is aksaru istinbatan, who has done research for wider issues and has come up with fatwa for more problems, he is more knowledgeable? Okay? Aw ittila'an, someone who is aksaru ittila'an, he has more information. When you talk to him, he says, this is what Sheikh Tusi has said, this is what Allama Hilli has said, this is why for example, Akhund Khurasani has said he has all these informations. He knows history. He knows lots of things. He knows views of Sunnis, Shias. Is it a'lamiyya a matter of having more information? A very good question. What is a'lamiyya? A strength in malaka, a strength in understanding, having done more ijtihad and istinbat, wider issues, having more information. What is a'lamiyya?
Can you tell us the root word of itla, please?
Pardon?
Itla, what is it?
Ittila means
Itla.
information.
That's its meaning.
Aktharu ittila'an means he has more information.
Ascent.
He's more informed. So he says, فَمَا هُوَ إِذَنْ حَالُ جُهَّالِ الْعَوَامِ. So people who are lay people, but also not understand. Maybe some lay people are educated, they have studied some fiqh, they have some idea. But some of the lay people are not educated. They have not studied fiqh at all. How can they understand what is a'lamiyah? أَيَجْتَهِدُونَ فِي تَعْيِينِ مَعْنَاهِ. Are these lay people going to do ijtihad? Do you expect them to decide for themselves what is a'lamiyah and then find out a'lam? In other words, do you think every person who is baligh, Allah wants him to make up his or her mind about what is a'lamiyah and then find out who is a'lam? Okay? This is what he says. I am just explaining. There are other counter arguments, and I hope people who watch these lectures watch it through, not just one part. أم يقلدون أهل الخبرة وهم في حيرة. What do you expect from them? Do you expect that they themselves do ijtihad? This is not, reasonable. Do you expect them that in this issue, what is a'lamiyah, they follow experts, while the experts themselves are fi hayra, they themselves disagree? Yeah, they are perplexed. Or you say in this issue they should see what is the opinion of a'lam. But this is again problematic. Why? Because before knowing this, how we can say who is a'lam? Yeah? So first we should know what is a'lamiyah, and then we can say who is a'lam. Am yuqalleduna al-a'lama fil a'lam. Or are they supposed to follow a'lam, the most knowledgeable, when it comes to the issue of what is a'lam? Salaam alaikum. What is the meaning of a'lam? وَهُوَ دَوْرٌ صَرِيحٌ. This is an obvious vicious circle. You refer to a'lam to understand what is the meaning of a'lam. If you refer to a'lam, means you already know what is a'lam. Yeah? So then how you expect to understand the meaning of a'lam? By referring to a'lam. So, one problem is, according to the author, it's very difficult to understand what is a'lamiyah. Then, even after we know what is a'lamiyah, to apply, we have few mujtahids, to apply this definition and say this person is most knowledgeable, it's a'lam. This is also difficult. Do you understand? There are two problems. One is theoretical, what's the definition of a'lam? The other is practical. Who among them falls under this definition. Okay? هذا ما أن تعيين الأعلام بعد فرض معرفة معناه أمر مشكل جدا أيضا. This is in addition to the problem that to identify ta'yin. Yeah? Now you are getting used to, inshallah, analyze Arabic texts on fiqh. So to identify a'lam after knowing the meaning of a'lam, yeah? This is practical. It's very difficult. After knowing, suppose we know the meaning, now we want to identify who is a'lam. Why? Why it's very difficult? Because how can you compare ulama? You can only compare ulama if you know what each alim knows and what condition each alim has, depending on whatever is the definition of alamiyah for you. For example, the alamiyah is a matter of having more information or have a better understanding or having done more istinbat. Then you should know the same thing about all mujtahidin. And then be comparing them. هذا مع أن تعيين الأعلام بعد فرض معرفة معناه أمر مشكل جدا. مشكل جدا means very difficult. أيضا means this is another problem in addition to the previous problem. فإنه أمر يحتاج فيه إلى إحاطة or يحتاج فيه means the mukallaf needs or it is needed to have comprehensive knowledge. إحاطة, yeah, means have comprehensive knowledge about knowledge of all ulama. It's not just enough you know one faqih or more than one. Before knowing the level of all people who could be in this category, you cannot make up your mind. Yeah, suppose we have 20 mujtahid, yeah, in Qom, in Najaf, in Mashhad, in Tehran, in other places. Suppose we have 20 mujtahids that are in this level. So even if you know 10 of them, or 15 of them, or 18 of them, but you don't know the other two, you cannot say which one is the most knowledgeable. Okay, this is the problem that the author mentions. لا يكفي معرفة علم فقيه واحد أو أكثر. It's not enough to know the knowledge of one mujtahid, jurist, or more. You have to know the knowledge of every faqih. Yeah? At least every faqih in that level, in that rank. Yeah? Because there are some mujtahids that we know certainly they are not in that level of alami. كيف تحيط أهل الخبرة, or it's better to be يحيط, but because it's خبرة has brought in on. كيف يحيط أهل الخبرة بعلوم جميع أهل الأرض من الفقهاء? How can experts know knowledge of all people who live in the world? Any faqih who lives in the world. وَمَنْ فِي الزَّوَايَا وَالْخَفَايَا. Maybe in one school there is a very knowledgeable person, but he has kept himself unknown. You know, sometimes we have in the history that some great ulama didn't show their knowledge. Like Haji Sabzawari, rahmatullah alayh, was a great alim, great philosoph, He has commentary on Asfar, he has Manzuma himself, he has Manzuma in Mantiq and philosophy. It is said that for some time he went to another city and was serving the talaba in a madrasa. When he was younger, like for example in his middle age. But he was not telling that I am a scholar. He was just cleaning and looking after the talaba. And sometimes he was hearing these talaba in mubahasa, they are making mistakes. But it was difficult for him because he didn't want to. But I think once he mentioned and they realized that he's great alim. So sometimes it's possible that someone has knowledge but is not very famous.
Like Mullah Ali Qazi as well. He was
known. He was known. But some people keep very quiet. He was not alim. He was arif, but not alim. Yeah.
Is it possible not being alim become arif?
It's possible if you have a teacher who is alim.
Oh.
His teacher was Ayatollah Qazi. Okay. So, he says, there can be people in zawaya. Zawaya means in corners, Well, khafaya, in places which are not very visible and, people don't notice.
Hidden places.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, might be interesting. In this trip, my last trip to Mashhad, I went to one of our brothers said that there are some people who want to meet you in one of the madaris in Mashhad. And I went to meet them, and then there was a person who was doing all the admin and internal management of that madrasa. He was about 60, 70 years old. And he was so humble that when this person who was in charge was talking to me, we are sitting here, but he didn't come to sit next to us. He sat next to the door. And this person who is manager, for example, he's much younger than him. Yeah? And whenever he had question about the history of that madrasa, which belonged to one of Maraji, was asking him. And then my friend said, this person that is doing the management and, making food, not making, but arranging food, cleaning, all, repair, whatever, and never teaches. He said, I have asked him detailed question about Aswar, and he answers. It was very amazing for me that you can find such people. So humble that even he didn't come and sit next to us, next to the door. But he can teach Aswar. Aswar Mullah Sabah. So there are people, alhamdulillah, who are humble. Of course, it's not what we encourage everyone to keep unknown, but sometimes for some reasons, some people find that they should do this. So there are people in khafaya, means they are in unknown and hidden places. إن هذا لتكليف شاق من أصله. This is something which is very difficult from its very, origin. To say that people have to find out among all mujtahideen who is more knowledgeable. How can they find out what is a'lamiyya and then how much knowledge they have and then have comprehensive knowledge about all so that he can compare them? لا يتناسب تشريعه مع أحكام الشريعة السهلة السمحاء. This is so difficult that it's not compatible with Islamic Sharia, which is, as Rasulullah said, بُعِثْتُ عَلَى شَرِيعَةٍ سَمْحَةٍ سَهْلَةٍ. Islamic Sharia is something very easy to practice. Yeah? Something that every person, young, old, educated, uneducated, everyone should be able to practice. He says, legislating such rule that you must follow a'lam does not comply with such easy sharia that we have. Okay? Then he makes another point. The next point is also practical. He says, if people were supposed to go to A'lam, suppose all Shia go to A'lam, then this would make that A'lam like second to Imam. It means that people from all over the world, all the Shia would follow him. He says, then for a person to be a point of reference for all people would be very, very difficult. Especially if you want to have comprehensive leadership. And he says, people who are familiar with difficulties and difficult task of marajah, they know that even when a marja is not the only marja, still it's very difficult to cope with so many questions come, so many things that you have to take care of them. People need, wakil, people need, judge, imam of Jum'ah, imam of Jama'ah, send inquiries, so many problems. So he says, it's very difficult. مع أن الأعلم لو كان أقدم. Another problem is that if A'lam was supposed to be given preference and we have to go to A'lam, لكان منصبه تالي أمر الإمامة في الأهمية. Then this position becomes second to Imamah. Yeah? Of course, even now we believe it is second to Imamah, even if it is not A'lam. But he says, because then it will be more centralized. فَيَغْتَذِي أَنْ تَرَدَ فِي ذَلِكَ. So, if it becomes second to A'lamiyah, it requires few things. One is, it will be very difficult. Another thing is, we expect clear guidance from Imams about this issue. Because when this position is so important, Imams would not keep silent about this. And he says, why? He says, of course, because there are counter arguments. But he says, why Imams have not said that you must refer to Mujtahid who is A'lam, although it's a position which is second to Imamah. فَيَقْتَذِي أَنْ تَرَدَ فِي ذَلِكَ مِنْ حَفَظَةِ هَذَا الدِّينِ وَسَدَنَتِهِ الْأَخْبَارُ الْكَثِيرَةُ الْمُتَوَاتِرَةُ الْمُتَضَافِرَةُ. He says, if it is such an important position, which is second to Imamah, then from the protectors and take carers of this faith, means Prophet and Imams, there must be many, many hadiths which are either mutawatir or mutawafir. Mutawatir, you know the difference. Mutawatir is narrated by so many independent narrators in every generation that leaves no chance of mistake. Yeah? Mutadafir is not at that level, but means there are frequent narrators. And this must have spread in the east and the west of the earth. مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. You know why we say مشارق plural ومغارب? We say east and west sometimes. Sometimes we say شرقها وغرب, sometimes we say مشارق ومغارب. Like in دعاء عهد. جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات. Because
Difference of the time.
because the earth is not fixed. Yeah? So depending on where is taken as the point of reference, this can change. Yeah? For example, people who are in UK, for them east means something. But people who are in China, for them east is something else. People who are in Canada, for them UK is east. Yeah? Unless you just say Greenwich is the center, but this is not something which has scientific reason. It's just a kind of agreement. So because the earth is evolving, so it is not fixed.
So in the Quran, when you read this Rabbul Mashriqayn wa Rabbul Maghribayn, that is the same explanation for that as well?
It can be. حتى يعلم العالم الإسلامي أجمع ذلك. There must have been so many hadiths about this that all people in the Islamic world should have been informed about this issue. لعل يقع في مفسدة تقليد غير الأعلم. So that, because if you say a'lamiyya is needed, then following the one who is not a'lam is something which has mafsada, it's harmful. Yeah? Their interest would be lost. Why they didn't warn us, they didn't inform us about this issue. فَتَفْسُدَ جَمِيعُ أَعْمَالِهِمْ وَعِبَادَاتِهِمْ. They should have given warning about harm that would be caused by following غير أعلم, because all a'mal becomes batil and void. But he says في حين أن الأئمة عليهم السلام ينبغي مع أننا لم نرى عينا ولا أثرا من ذكر الأعلمية في الأخبار. We have not seen any sign or any trace. عينا ولا أثرا. Do you know the difference between عينا ولا أثرا? عين is to see something. Athar is to see sign of it. For example, sometimes you see the camel, sometimes you see the footprint of camel. This is athar. Yeah? So, he says, we have not seen any presence or sign of mentioning alamiyah in the hadith. في حين أن الأئمة عليهم السلام ينبغي أن يبلغوا هذا الأمر المهم. Imams عليهم السلام are supposed to mention, if there is such an important issue as a condition, they should have mentioned this. تبتني عليه فروع الدين أجمع. All our practical rulings, فروع الدين, depends on this issue. يبتدئوا به أصحابهم. Maybe someone says people didn't ask Imams. If they had asked Imams, they would have told them. Yeah? You see, people go and ask Ahlul Bayt and they give answer. Maybe no one asked about Alamiyah. He says, when something is important, Imams would not wait for people to ask. Yeah? If no one asked, but they know that this is something that people have to observe, so they would initiate this discussion. يَبْتَدِئُوا بِهِ أَصْحَابَهُمْ إِذَا لَمْ يَسْأَلُوهُمْ عَنْهُ. If their companions didn't ask them about this, Imam should do the opening and initiating this discussion. They should start this. Kama. Here it's written kam. It should be kama. Kama. Ihtamu, when you connect, when you do wasp, it becomes kamihtamu. But this kamihtamu should be written kama. Kamahtamu means as they have taken care of what? Imamah. So why Imams so much have mentioned the issue of Imamah? Because it's very important. People must know this. So this is also important. بل معرفة الأعلام ربما تكون أصعب على الناس من معرفة الإمام. He says, although, I am adding this sentence, although is from me, but it's good to remember this although. Although Imamah is more important, I don't want to say Taqlid is as important as Imamah. Yes, Imamah is more important. But the need for clarification here is more. Why? Because we can know Imams by introduction of the Prophet and previous Imams. Yeah, because Imam is always introduced. But for marja, people need to find out. Even previous marja may not say who is the next marja. Yeah, even if he says by itself is not a proof. So, although Imam is more important, but our need for receiving guidance in the issue of Taqlid is more. You have greater need here because we have to find out. In Imam, we don't need to find out who is qualified. Yeah? Actually, in the issue of Imam, if you remember, one of the reasons that the Shia say Imam should be designated and declared to us is because we are not able to find out who is Ma'soom. Yeah? Because something which is not accessible to us. So, he says, بل معرفة الأعلام ربما تكون أصعب على الناس من معرفة الإمام. Knowing A'lam might be more difficult for people than knowing Imam. Why? لأن اختيار الإمام بيد علام الغيوب. Because the decision of selecting or choosing Imam is in hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows all the secrets. يفضي به إلى النبي. Then Allah declares his decision to the Prophet. والنبي ينص عليه بمحضر من أصحابه. The Prophet mentions this specifically in the presence of his companions. Like in Ghadir, for example. The Prophet said what was Allah's choice in the presence of his companions. وَلَكِنَّ الْأَعْلَمَ مَعْرِفَتُهُ مَوْكُولَةٌ إِلَى الْمُكَلَّفِ. But knowing and discovering who is most knowledgeable is left to whom? To mukallafin. People themselves should find it. وَالْعِلْمُ شَيْءٌ غَامِضٌ. To find out level of knowledge of people is not easy. Yeah? If it was, for example, who is taller, who is older, who speaks, more eloquently, for example. These are the things that are not difficult to understand. But knowledge is something not very obvious. He says, العلم شيء غامض يصعب تمييز مراتبه. Knowledge is something which is غامض, means is not very easy, it's not very obvious, it's hidden. Yeah, غموض. I don't want to say ambiguity, although sometimes it can mean ambiguity, but here means it's not very obvious. يصعب تمييز مراتبه. It's difficult to make distinction between different levels of art, ilm of ulama. Yeah. If we give you 10 alim, can you say who is in the first rank, who is the second rank, who is the third rank? It's very difficult. So that then you can say who is a'lam. يصعب تمييز مراتبه. It's difficult to make distinction between different ranks, so that then we can say who is the most knowledgeable. ما أنه قد يبتلى بوجوب تعيينه وتمييزه لأجل تقليده بين آونة وأخرى. On the one hand, it's more difficult. On the other hand, every person from time to time needs to find who is a'lam. Sometimes people during their life, they have to make few times this choice. You find out who is a'lam, then he passes away. Then you have to find again who is a'lam. Yeah? So it's something that even you don't do it once, you may do it many times. قد يبتلى. People might be required to find who is a'lam and distinguish him for following him from time to time. When the most knowledgeable dies, then the second most knowledgeable dies, and then the third most knowledgeable also dies in very close time. Sometimes happens. Even now in our life, we have had this, that several of our great Maharaja have passed away. So it's not only once in a life. Okay, we stop and then inshallah we start again. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I don't want to make each lecture for very long period. Just 1-2 minutes if you want to.